Hi Phoenix family. Tonight's video we are doing 9 witches in history. My source for this video comes from a blog done by Aliza Polkes from Illinois. She did an amazing public blog where she shared her own research on some witches in history. So I am using her as a source to also share those witches and take it out to you guys also on YouTube. Okay, so while I go through the witches, we'll be showing some images of them and talk a little bit about the recorded history on each one. I hope you enjoy. Number 1, Voisin. Catherine Voisin, also known as Voisin, lived in France in the mid-1600s. She practiced medicine, including midwife, abortions, mixed potions, poisons, told fortunes, and supposedly arranged black masses, where clients could confer with the devil. She was also one of the heads of the Affaire des Poisons, a cult who poisoned many members of the French aristocrats who had planned to poison King Louis. Her most famous client was Madame Montespan, the king's mistress. It was by Montespan's order that Voisin attempted to poison the king for his infidelity. In the late 1670s, fear of poisoning and witchcraft reached a fever pitch in the streets of France, and many successful fortune tellers and poisoners, including Voisin, were arrested. She was burned publicly after being convicted of witchcraft in 1680. Number 2, Alice Katella. The first recorded woman condemned for witchcraft in Ireland, Katella lived from the late 1200s to the early 1300s. Katella was married 4 times, which already marked her as an unusual woman. After her 4th husband died, expressing fear that he had been poisoned, his children and the children of her 3 previous husbands accused her of using poison and sorcery against their fathers. She was accused of myriad other depraved acts such as animal sacrifice, worshipping a Satan, and using her powers to manipulate and control Christians. One of her servants, Petrella de May, was tortured by church authorities and confessed to witchcraft, thereby implicating Katella. At this point, Katella fled the country, presumably to England. She was never heard from again. Number 3, Isabel Gaudi. Tried and executed for witchcraft in 1662, Gaudi is notable for her detailed confession, which she gave of her own violation, without being tortured like so many other women of the time. Gaudi was a young housewife living at Alderen, Highland, Scotland. Her confessions about her coven's activities, including their supposed ability to transform into animals, gave great insight into European folklore surrounding witchcraft at that time. She also claimed to be entertained by the Queen of the Fairies. In her home, under the hills, some speculate that Gaudi's confession may have been the result of psychosis or a ploy to get a more lenient sentence. Number 4, Moll Dyer. If you've seen the Blair Witch Project, then you're already familiar with the legend of the infamous Moll Dyer. Though her story is more lore and superstition than recorded fact, this supposed resident of Leonardtown, Maryland, has been the inspiration behind many local tales and even major movies. Dyer lived in the late 1600s. A group of her fellow townspeople accused her of witchcraft, and she was chased out of her home by a group of men on a winter night. Her body was found days later, frozen to a large stone. Number 5, Marie Laveau. Recently portrayed by Angela Bassett in American Horror Story, Marie Laveau is accurately described as a voodoo priestess. She lived in New Orleans from 1794 to 1881, and though little is known about her life, it is widely recorded that she had a massive following and commanded respect as she walked the New Orleans streets. There is speculation that her magic mixed Catholic and African spiritual traditions, that her divinations were supported by a network she assembled while working as a hairdresser and a brothel madam, that she owned a snake named Zombie after an African god, and many more. After her death, her gravesite was rampant with vandalism, for many visitors believed Laveau's spirit would grant wishes if they drew an X on her gravestone. Today, one must have a tour guide to enter the cemetery where she is buried. Number 6. Diane Fortune. Born Violet Mary Firth in 1890, Diane Fortune was a British occultist and author, thought of by many as a modern-day witch. She wrote prolifically about the occult in both fiction and non-fictional works. In 1924, she founded the Fraternity of the Inner Light, a magical society dealing with religious philosophy and alternative realities. She died in 1946, leaving behind her magical society, which has survived to this day. Ronald Hutton, in his book The Triumph of the Moon, A History of Modern Pagan Witchcraft, considers her the foremost female figure of early 1900s British occultism. Number 7. Tituba. Tituba was brought to the American colonies as a slave to Samuel Parris. During the 1692 Salem witch trials, Tituba was the first person accused of witchcraft by Elizabeth Parris and Abigail Williams. Initially, Tituba denied any involvement, but like so many of the accused, her will was quickly broken. Tituba admitted to the participation of an occult ritual, saying that she had baked a witch cake in an attempt to help her mistress, Elizabeth Parris. Tituba embellished her confession by adding details about her service to the devil, riding on sticks, and being told by a black dog to harm the children. Her testimony was both bizarre and frightening, as Tituba stated that she had pinched the girls and had signed the devil's book. Tituba, along with many others, were imprisoned for nearly a year, but managed not to be one of the women hanged for witchcraft. Tituba languished in prison for a year, as her master would not pay her jail fees. Eventually, in 1693, an unknown individual purchased Tituba from the prison for the price of her jail fees. After this, the woman's path disappeared from history. Number 8. Lynn, Matt's daughter. Known as the Great Noise, the largest witch trial in Swedish history brought forth a tenacious Swedish widow. In July 1676, Lynn, Matt's daughter, was reported for witchcraft by her own family. Matt's daughters accused their mother of abducting children and taking them to a satanic Sabbath. Matt's daughter was found guilty thanks to the testimony of her own daughters and her lack of religious knowledge and prayers. Now, the way that's written, where it says, thanks to the testimony, I don't know how to take that. Whether it should be facetious or sarcasm or somebody who was thankful for it. I think it's quite sad. Number 9. Mother Shipton. Ursula Salvo, better known as Mother Shipton, was a highly regarded and feared English prophetess during the 1500s. Locals referred to Mother Shipton as Hagface due to her ugliness and disfigurement. Many believe that she was the daughter of a suspected witch, Agatha Sophel, and the devil. Despite her appearance, Mother Shipton was considered England's greatest clairvoyant and was even compared to Nostradamus. Some of Mother Shipton's prophecies foretell many modern events and phenomena. It is said that she predicted the Spanish Armada, the Great Plague of London, the Great Fire of London, and the execution of Mary Queen of Scots. Unlike so many other well-known witches, Mother Shipton died a natural death and was buried on the outer edges of York in 1561. Okay, guys, that's it. That's the 9 witches in history. There's many more out there. If this is something you're interested, something that you liked, please let me know in the comments below, and we can certainly put together another episode. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, guys. I love you. Mwah.